8 to shoot for Lanier. Here's Smith against Dante. Nice feed to Jenkins climbing the ladder.
Going to get some significant minutes.
Sure is. Harden trying to get to the basket against him. Tolu with a block.
That boy
He has
moving.
5 points, 3 for 3 from the free throw line. Jordan Bell, the first winner of the Taylor last year.
That's a big dude, man. Man, it's so crazy because I ain't gonna lie, man. The sport of basketball is so favoritism toward big dudes, big players, tall players. You know what I'm saying? If you tall, you're gonna get a chance. I mean, nobody probably ever heard of this dude, Tolu Smith. I just now heard of him because he was in the article online. You know what I'm saying, from the school. I played for University of Hawaii, so I subscribed to their newsletters and stuff like that. So there was like a little article about a guy from Hawaii who was in the NBA named Tolu Smith, as you see there. And I'm like, let me check this dude out because, he didn't go to University of Hawaii, but he went to a high school for like 1 year in Hawaii and, went to Western Kentucky. Anyway, I'm looking at his highlights and I'm like, damn, this nigga's 6'11". And when you 6'11", man, you really, I ain't gonna lie, you ain't really got to be good like that to what I'm saying, get in the NBA or whatever. You know what I'm saying. I know it sounds like I'm hating, but I'm not really hating. It's frustrating for me because me being 5'10", 5'11", I was obviously one of the small guys, and it's a different struggle. If you know what I'm saying, if you know what I'm talking about, it's a different struggle for us. You know what I'm saying. So anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, but anyway, y'all, it's Q&A time for those who eat, sleep, and drink basketball. Um, Behind the scenes, podcast, just talking. I don't do much of that. I really just been putting. See, that's me right there. I'm Kenny Kelly. Played D1 ball at 2 different schools, really 3 different schools. But I'm a pioneer in my own right in a lot of ways. But you know, I'll let y'all, ask questions if y'all choose to. Whoever is here, whatever y'all on, it's late night, y'all. Appreciate y'all for coming in. Chopping it up with me. I might do a lot more of that, because how else y'all gonna get to know me, you know what I'm saying, if I don't. So um yeah, I've been having a little bit of success with these recreated NBA reels I've been doing. You know, I'm hit or miss on my YouTube. Some things take off, some things don't. I really don't be caring for real because I'm from the street, so you know, I came from nothing, you know, just a basketball in the street. So and made it to D1, you know. So, you know, I never had a bunch of money and never went to a basketball camp. Like I said, pretty much a street ball player who was good enough to go D1, you know, from a small town. So I'm kind of taking it back to the roots with the page, but it's time to give back, basically. You know, it's time to give back and, you know, share with those who trying to make it. You know, being under 6 foot, making a D1, I know makes me somebody who's very knowledgeable and able to pass along, you know what I'm saying, information on how, you know what I mean, to make it in the game of basketball. So, but yeah, I've had some success, you know, with these NBA recreated videos. You know, right here I'm recreating LaMelo Ball. And I'm gonna show y'all some of the behind the scenes of it, you know. So here's probably, let's see, one of the better videos. Uh Matter of fact, yeah, that's one of the best ones. Um you see it's like 2,000 views. It's pretty fucking dope, you know, and this is probably, I ain't gonna lie, this is the dopest shit I done ever I mean, making a D1 and everything. Well, no. Making a D1 was doper than anything, I ain't gonna lie. You know, because that was a dream come true for me, being able to play at the biggest stage. You know, even though the NBA is the biggest stage, I think we all know now that D1 is basically the same thing. So, especially now that they're getting money like that, you know, but when I was playing, they wasn't paying $1 million contracts, NILs and shit. You know, we got shown a lot of love. You know, it was dope. But you know, since then, this is some dope ass shit. So, uh, I know for me personally, you know, I'm gonna get a lot of, you know, if I keep getting the views I'm getting, you know, it's gonna pay off, of course. But it's about time, you know what I'm saying? It's about time I've been able to do something that pay off for me because I missed the NIL, missed the NBA. I'm actually still starting point guard semi-pro here in Atlanta on a team, ABA team, but ain't no real money in that shit, you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, but it looks like this might be my lane, you know what I'm saying? Because these just looking at the views, I mean, we in a results driven world, ladies and gentlemen, and so it's not so much about what you want and what you like, it's about the numbers, you know what I'm saying? And when I look at these views, some of y'all may have never seen these or not, but I just figured I'd do something interesting, go live, talk about it a little bit behind the scenes because, you know, I'm not gonna be able to really, you know, it's not like I'm trying to show everybody and tell everybody this type of shit. I'm trying to just let the page be successful. But it is a creative, obviously there's a creative process involved with this. Um, but you know, I'll share it with those live. You know, that's the way I choose to kind of go behind the scenes about this type of shit. And in the meantime, between time, it gives us a chance to go live, talk, give some people a chance to ask certain questions about the game of basketball, talk about, you know, what's going on in the basketball world, and you know, me to connect and promote and, you know, talk about some of this shit, kind of show y'all shit that would never be public information. Um, got to do that at some point. You know, human interaction is important. I know I'm kind of closed off a lot of ways. Always been that way. Super duper 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 small circle. Kind of been a pioneer, like I said, in my own right. So, but yeah, man, this shit is dope. Uh, you know, it's gonna be dope too. So definitely stay tuned. If you haven't already, you know, lock in. You know, I got a, like I said, I got a decent page. You know, 1.9 subscribers. You know, that's the team I play on, semi-pro team. You know, but I think I found a home with this NBA recreated scene shit. It's just something about it's pretty fucking dope. Right there, I did the Kobe fade away. You know, I grew up in the, you know, early 2000s. You know, graduated high school in '01. So, you know, Kobe Iverson. You know, it's just players that uh, you know, grew up watching. So I just wanted to take it back a little bit with that Kobe fade away. Somebody who I grew up watching, and he's one of the GOATs. So I thought that was cool to redo. That's why you'll see me doing a couple Jordan ones. But right now, I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna be recreating a lot of the newer shit. I live in Atlanta, so that's the explanation for the Hawks jersey. Like I say, I ain't no big time. Let's see, hobby. Yeah. But I'm from Atlanta, so I was able to, represent Atlanta with this shit a little bit. Um, Starting out, but then once I saw I was kind of successful, I started just going outside of just Atlanta, you know, with the recreations. And so I got, I'm still early in this venture. That's my actual semi-pro team, but I got the LaMelo because first of all, I like the way LaMelo plays, and there's not too many people who could play like LaMelo, just because he does have a street kind of game, and which is interesting because he's not from the streets, you know what I'm saying? But the way that they grew up with all his brothers, I just feel like them going against each other gave them, a lot of competition and street ball element. They dad put them against each other and did a good job, obviously, of prioritizing they development. And yeah, man, and LaMelo being the youngest one had two big brothers to kind of get pushed around, and it's almost like that really helped him. You know what I'm saying? Even though he didn't come from the streets, he definitely had two dogs to get pushed around by, get him better. So like I said, my game always definitely was street. So I just felt like there's some similarities there. A lot of people criticized the way that he played, but I always saw, to be honest, I always saw kind of like where it might work for him. I didn't think he would take it this far, admittedly, but really, to be honest, I think what really worked for LaMelo is the fact that he had that growth spurt. You know what I'm saying? That growth spurt definitely helped him in a lot of ways, and so uh, now he's just able to add his creativity with his height, and obviously just always being crafty, being one of the smaller brothers playing point guard. Really helped LaMelo. I would say just kind of like take off. You know what I'm saying? And just having that carefree spirit to him. Like, look, I'm really just having a green light. Anytime you can have a green light, there's so much more comfort in the way you can play. I know that because I've played on different teams, and some of them I've had the green light on. Thank God. Fortunately, I was able to be on some big time teams that gave me to put the ball in my hand. And I've also been on teams where, it was more of a controlled situation where I didn't have that. So I definitely feel like a lot of LaMelo's success can be attributed to the fact that, you know, Charlotte trusted him with the ball. And so speaking of ball, Charlotte trusted him with the ball, and no pun intended. But yeah, man, pause. But yeah, I think that attributed to a lot of his success, just having that freedom at an early age to do his thing, and kind of the NBA needed, I think, a new face, new things to it, new stars, new entertainment, especially when Ja Morant started getting in trouble and stuff like that. And I just think LaMelo was just one of those sneaky guys that came in and just, things worked out for him. And so I respect that, and I just wanted to recreate. I feel like, to be honest, his game out of all games kind of fits mine more so than anybody else's. So I was just like, yeah, let's recreate. Let me go ahead and recruit. I mean, I didn't make it to the league, so why not promote his name amongst, what I'm saying, some of my skills, and hopefully it pays off for me in ways it does behind the scenes. I've always been a behind the scenes guy. I didn't have a dad in the NBA or nothing like that, just kind of from the street. So did play D1 though, so hopefully, it goes somewhere, and it is. The views are good. Hopefully y'all tune in, lock in. Um, but yeah, so hopefully, like I say, it's gonna be dope. And so I really was gonna be bougie with this and only post my recreated NBA stuff, but it doesn't really represent who I am. I'm kind of a down to earth person. So because of that, I'm gonna go ahead and I started, as you see, the creation process. I'm gonna share with y'all. Like, I just basically go outside or just anywhere really, anywhere I can hoop, and do the motions of the moves, the moves, the handles. It's really so that part you got to do. You definitely got to do that. Got to hoop for real. The great part about it is that I don't have to be on a 5-on-5 setting or situation. I can kind of do my own thing, and that's what I love about it. Is because now that I'm actually 42 years of age, I'm admit my age. I have nothing to hide. Um, it's kind of painful sometimes playing 5-on-5. You know what I'm saying? And to be the starting point guard of a semi-pro team, you know, is a blessing. To be able to play semi-pro and start point guard in the ABA for a team. I don't take that lightly. So I'm actually signed another contract for another year. So I'm playing for the Southwest Warriors ABA team. Uh, you know, and starting too. So that's a blessing. But there's not real money in that. And, I just always believed that my skill was at the next level. I always felt like I had that skill. And, that's probably why I did make it to the Division I schools I did. I was actually too young though. I was 17 years old playing at TCU. And like I said, just not having anybody to take after or to learn from who actually played at the pro level or college level. I kind of learned the hard way in a lot of things, and so as you guys get to know me, we'll get into that. But this is dope. I like that I was able to figure this out, how to put myself in this type of. I always wanted to see what I would look like in the league. I always wanted to see what I would look like, and this is pretty fucking dope. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really excited. I love the fact that this is working, and I'm getting some good views with this. Like I say, I love the way my game matches with LaMelo on the recreation side. It just fits. It's almost like I've seen it before and I did it before. I feel like when him redoing his moves, it's like it's just natural. And to be honest, I'm not shooting like him. I'm kind of shooting like I shoot. It just the only thing I'm doing is I'm shooting it with a little bit of a quicker release than I normally shoot. You know what I'm saying? Because he does have a really quick release. So the only difference is that I'm shooting mine with a quick release instead of holding it. Because honestly, when I'm playing for real, I don't really flick it like that. I'll shoot it for real. But other than that, it's like the same thing. And then too, I'm learning the last couple of years as training. As you see, this is page called NBA Training. Training was my vision to train pros and prospects, and so I just wanted to learn the new moves, step backs, and stuff like that, so that I could help the young people do what the people want to see. Scouts want to see step backs. Step backs weren't really needed like that when I was playing. We used to just pull up in people's face and shoot that motherfucker. I don't need to step back, you know what I'm saying, to get that motherfucker off and shoot that hole in your face. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna either get you off balance from my handles or just, driving to you, you know what I mean? But now it's a different era. They look at different things. Now that's just the way the game is. And, at the NBA level, now even Division I level, it's about the show. You got to put on the show, especially if you're under 6 foot or, anyway, we'll stay away from the opinions of it. Everybody's got their own. But like I said, for me, I did, for training purposes, learn some of the new younger moves so I could kind of help prospects stand out and do what they need to do to get seen. And so obviously my step backs, that's paid off because now obviously there's certain players who take that to the next level, like Steph Curry, LaMelo, of course, and whoever else you might want to mention. Basically Harden, of course, but this is really working for that, because he does a lot of step backs. He handles the ball, does a lot of in and outs. Everything kind of that I do. So this is dope. I look forward to being able to do this more. Obviously, the freedom that I have in doing these recreations is that I don't have to lock into playing for a certain team. Like I don't just have to wear the Hawks jersey and play for the Hawks. I can play for the Hornets if I want to. I can play for the Phoenix Suns if I want to. I can play for the Atlanta Hawks if I want to. Basically, any jersey that I can damn purchase my fucking self, I basically can play for that motherfucking team. So this shit is dope as fuck. I can be able to train in it as well because really training is visual. I was always a visual learner. I learned from my favorite NBA players, so I really kind of want to redo the players that I used to learn from. Me, but right now I'm doing this shit really for the views. At this point, I ain't gonna lie, I'm trying to get to that money. So hopefully, you know what I'm saying, YouTube keeps putting me on the For You pages. As you see I'm redoing Iverson because I grew up playing Iverson, you know, learning from Iverson and Kobe and stuff like that. But and I know I'm doing a lot of talking, but that's cool. It's a lot that's behind this. It's a lot that's behind this. And I kind of, now that I see that it's working, I'm just giving y'all kind of a preview of what to expect, you know what I'm saying? And you know, there's a lot more where this came from. Like I obviously figured out how to do these, you know what I'm saying? And you know, I'm not gonna explain or teach nobody how to do it, but you know, it's gonna be a lot more of this, you know. And so just stay tuned. And I guess I just can't keep the hat in the bag, you know. So yeah, so I'm out here hooping as you see these videos. I just was like, I'm not gonna be too bougie, you know. I'll go out here and show y'all basically what I'm doing, how I'm hooping. You know, this was a free throw form or something like that. I might recreate a free throw, but I basically got to find a clip, and you know, find a clip. You'll see me doing this for the Hornets, basically. You know, hopefully some kind of sponsorships come from this or something. You know, who knows? And if nothing else, I'm still able to teach. You know, in the process. Because here go the real question: y'all think I got more handles than LaMelo? You know what I'm saying? That's the whole thing. I think, matter of fact, I said that world best handle. You know, just a couple, just trolling a little bit, but you know, some truth to it, some not. I got a lot of respect for LaMelo game, or else I wouldn't be wearing this jersey. You know what I'm saying? So, but at the same time, you know, I personally, of course, feel like I got more handles than everybody. You know, I don't see nobody who can, you know what I'm saying, handle that ball better than me. You know, maybe some people, maybe, you know, but it's definitely a category, small category, you know, even if it is, you know, I know I'm one of them ones, you know, regardless of what it is, it's a blessing to still be able to do this shit. Hopefully, you know, I get my just due from it all. So, you know, I don't feel like I have to be on the NBA stage in order to get the respect, but it's just funny and it's cool now that I put myself on the NBA stage that the respect is coming, you know what I'm saying? The respect that I've always deserved. Because so if it was something that simple for me to get, you know what I'm saying, my respect, then, you know, I'm fortunate to have figured that out and to, you know, been open and, you know, open minded enough to try something different. And so, you know, this is what I'll be doing. So yeah, man, with that being said, um, like I said, I think you know, we talked about it a little bit. I think right now the podcastable things to talk about will be, you know, Jaden Ivey, you know, as far as the NBA goes. I know the playoffs are here around the corner. Um, you know, I don't follow the NBA the same way I used to when I was younger, but you know, the playoffs are coming, and you know, I'm from Denver too, y'all. I'm from Denver, Colorado, so the Nuggets are always going to be my team when it comes to basketball. You know, that's just how it goes. You connect with a team as a kid, you know, you're probably gonna lock into that team, and that's just kind of what it. They've always had that connection with me, you know, from being from Denver. So the Nuggets are my team. Obviously, they've been in the playoffs a lot. They're doing well. We got one of the goats, one of the MVPs, and Nikola Jokic. So he's you know, I'm glad we got him. That's all I can say. I'm gonna leave that there. Definitely glad that we got. I was about to say LaMelo. Now I'm glad that we got Nikola Jokic in Denver. You know, great for our franchise, of course, and Jamal Murray. You know, not just Joker. You know, having Jamal Murray with him, great thing to have. I'm glad those two found the chemistry and stuck together throughout the years. Got them a championship. Probably should have a couple if things would have went our way a little differently, but hopefully we get one more before it's all said and done. But yeah, man, I follow, you know, the Nuggets, you know, in training and just, you know, just trying to keep my nose in the mix. That way, you know, hopefully one of these days, once my training days commence, you know, I'll probably be seeking coaching for real. I did go to my former college. I played at Texas Christian University and University of Hawaii. So those are the two Division I schools I played for. Feel free at any point to put a comment, ask questions, y'all. I'm looking at it and I'll answer any questions y'all might have. But just giving y'all some background on me, who I am, you know, Kenny Kelly. And I'm promoting myself now. You see, I got this name here, so I don't got to really too much announce it. But, you know, Yeah, University of Hawaii, TCU is where I played. I went back there basically a couple years ago to kind of try to start my coaching journey. So I did some volunteer training, and they allowed me. Shout out to them. Shout out to Texas Christian, Coach Dixon, Coach McNeely, Coach Santee, who was my roommate in college and teammate. Coach Benford, Coach Broussard, man. Shout out to all of y'all. Even player development, Jalen. Shout out to all y'all for embracing me the way y'all did when y'all, when I came back. It was really just a reunion, and I expressed the interest to train and to get into coaching and learning. Y'all allowed me to shadow y'all and learn, even though y'all didn't have to. I wasn't on staff, but they allowed me to attend film sessions and watch the practices, take notes, and be a part of the community. And I learned a lot about NIL at that time. Like I said, I played in 2001 at TCU, so obviously that was before NIL. And just being able to come back in a Division I environment, learning kind of about how things work now is going to help me when I do get into coaching Division I. Thing is, y'all, you got to wait for an opportunity to open up, and there's no guarantees. It's real competitive, of course, but you got to be passionate. And I feel like when you just make that dedication, eventually that door is going to open for you. You got to sometimes like do what I did, be willing to not get paid, volunteer for a year or two. I was able to volunteer for 1 year. I decided not to do it for 2 though, because once I didn't get on staff, I needed some money. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't do it for free. I couldn't pay. I couldn't just, fund myself and lodging and all that, because I wasn't living in Texas. I was living in Atlanta, which I live in now. So long story short, fortunately, the semi-pro team I had played on still had a need for me. So I was able to come back to Atlanta, and I was actually assistant coach prep school in Atlanta. There I go right there. But basically, guys, I'm a big time resource. You know what I'm saying? I'm not on staff for the NBA or D1 right now. I have done some work with the Players Association and player development, but no one has put me on staff. And I don't want to pull the race card. I'm not going to do that. My time will come. And I think, like I said, I think my time is actually finding a lane in these NBA recreations, actually. But God will be the determiner of that. We'll see. I don't want to get too excited and have something go wrong, or who knows what could go wrong. I've just been told no so many times that I'm kind of always expecting something to go wrong. And so I don't want to get my hopes up for this. Basketball is my passion. So if recreating these NBA scenes is like going to help me really get to some success, then, I just got to be thankful for God for that. But in the meantime, between time, I'm going to reach out to y'all and kind of be a mentor for those who need it, for those who need mentorship with the game of basketball. I'm here. That's what this channel is for. You see, it says NBA training. So, yeah, and, it's not going to be traditional the way that, traditional training is, really, because I see that as a money grab for people to just put flyers out, people to come to the gym and take people's money and have 100 different kids in the gym. That's something that I just don't believe in. Kids aren't going to get better with 100 kids in the gym. The more kids in the gym, the less time and focus that's on each kid in there, actually. So, and unless it's basketball tryouts or something, you really need to isolate yourself and kind of, be in the gym by yourself. That's what I believe in. I never went to a basketball camp. I spent hours and hours on the court outside, just in parks and my backyard. Just, that's how I got good and watching NBA players. So that's why this channel, NBA Training, is just, you see this, you see videos. I watched my favorite players, and that's how I got the skills. That's how I got the moves I got. And it worked for me. I ended up getting, Division I school, 2 Division I schools. And so, and this was before the portal. So I was a pioneer in that route. I was 17 playing Division I. Nowadays it's so different. They got 30 years old almost, playing Division I, and they're getting paid. So it's so different. But it's just amazing to go look at the college I played at, that they're still there. They're doing well too, by the way. The fact, basically, both Division I teams I played for, mid majors, made it to the tournament this year. And so yeah, that's an amazing thing to see. This was a special year for that. I wish TCU would have went further, of course, because we should have beat Duke. We got beat by Duke. But anyway, that's that. I'm here for y'all. Whatever questions y'all might have, if you have a desire to play basketball. I don't know who's going to be on this YouTube channel when I come in here, so that's why I added the podcast element into it, because some of you guys are here just because you're fans of the game, want to talk. I realized too, just through my training journey, that there's very few players that can make it Division I, and even fewer who believe in themselves to even make it nowadays. I think because now they're paying so much money, I think it's starting to put some reality checks in place that a lot of people in school and high school probably realize, and even parents know that, the chances of your child making it are slim to none. And so it's kind of been a lonely journey for me because, I'm here to train prospects. I'm here to train people who are actually, at that recruit level, freshman level, college level, maybe even NBA level. And so there's just not a lot of people who are going to fit that mold. So I'm here now just to kind of interact and share. Oh, this was so funny. Girls, man, girls be going hard, man. Look at that girl swinging at the girl. I had to put on my page. That was wild. So yeah, man. Subscribe if you. Oh yeah, this was me and JUCO. That was me and JUCO. Classic footage. Like I said, when I say I created these moves, man, I ain't lying. This was in 2004, 2003, before I got recruited to Hawaii. You know what I'm saying? And I went to TCU first, but then we had a coaching change, so I ended up going down JUCO. So I pretty much touched every soil in basketball: high school, JUCO, D1, 2D1. So I've experienced it all, even a little bit of D League, G League stuff. So it's like, this is some old classic footage. Look at that Shamgar pull up though. So I'm not capping when I tell y'all that I'm a pioneer for this, and I really was one of the first people doing all these things before the Trae Youngs, before the Steph Currys, before the LaMelo Balls. So I am the one to, right one to recreate these things. This is the semi-pro stuff, so this is more recent, uh, semi-pro level. Play the game the right way. Obviously, fundamental, but my shot, you see, like I told y'all, I don't flick it like LaMelo. I'm just doing that for the recreations, but you know what I'm saying. I produce, but yeah, this is me. See me holding that form. Mine, I kind of hold it. Beautiful jump shot though. Um, Haha, before them just not as well since we have no idea who. That's what YouTube is for, man. You find out, what I'm saying, about those who was there but you never heard of. So in the semi-pro now here in Atlanta, that's me right there. Actually, from a couple seasons ago. I mean, and that's the beauty about this shit, man. Like I don't have to say it. Like I'm saying it, yeah, but I'm also showing at the same time. Like I didn't want to just put my podcast on and just be talking like, oh yeah, I used to do this, I used to do this. I still do this. So anybody can get it at any time. I'm 42, but I'm still doing this. So regardless to what it is, that's the blessing of it. In this game, for those real hoopers, they're gonna play until the wheels fall off. And I don't know if that's me, you know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, that's the college I played at. See what I'm saying? They let me come in there anytime I want to. So I really did this, bro. It ain't no cap to my rap. I'm doing this now. This is this season. You see, I wear number one. Out here in Atlanta, they know me. You know, maybe not at the NBA level, but they do. My teammate from Hawaii coaching on the staff for the Hawks. You know what I mean? And I ain't even gonna lie, he acting Hollywood. He acting kind of Hollywood a little bit. I'm glad for him though that he in a good spot. But it is what it is. Right here, right now, I'm here for the kids, man. I'm here for the youth to ask me questions and use me as a sponge to, you know, get where they need to get mentored. I don't have any kids, so so me reaching out, giving back is kind of this way, on this platform, really whoever. I'm just an angel. I'm giving back to the game the way the game gave to me. Um, before them just not as well. So yeah. Anyway, um, so yeah, so you see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Semi-pro level, doing my thing, but 42 doing this, y'all. So just keep that in mind. So, you know what I'm saying? Um, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. So yeah. So I'm excited to connect with y'all, kind of let y'all see some of the stuff I do on this page. Matter of fact, player development at Morehouse. I did that at HBCU, for free. Um, and just paying my dues, man. Also doing my training and stuff like that at the same time, but giving back at the same time. This is Morehouse University, as you see back there. Matter of fact, this was dope. This was dope behind the scenes, y'all. This was me knocking down 10 straight threes, no misses. I'm old school this shit for real. I'm really I'm splash brother for real. You know what I mean? No cap to my rap. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. For those who ever try to say some of the stuff I say and question it, I mean that's cool. But when as soon as they do their research and see, they give me my respect, and that's cool. I'm trolled, but hard work is what it's all about. Consistency, uh, and just being dedicated. Those who are really dedicated to the show, the time you're gonna put in, uh, it's gonna show, and mine does definitely show. It always has. I'm fortunate now that really I'm just using YouTube to show y'all. Y'all have no excuse. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got players to watch. All you gotta do is go to your phone. You can watch the best players. For me in my era, we didn't have that. I had to look at VHS tapes and cable. You had to pay for cable if you had it and watch ESPN to see the reruns and stuff, like just to see certain highlights and stuff. And man, so me, I recorded it though on VHSs. I recorded it and studied it, in order to practice and so y'all got it easy, and so that's why I'm gonna hold y'all accountable, because if you really, really want to do it, that's all you really gotta do is watch watch these NBA players, watch these college players. Now they even got YouTubers who are dope. You know what I'm saying? Now I wouldn't advise really watching YouTubers as far as trying to really get where you're trying to go. Not to hate on YouTubers, because some of them could hoop, I can tell. But it's like what y'all gotta understand is if y'all are trying to make it, which I'm sure you are, you're trying to make it to Division 1 because that's where the money's at, for one. For two, that's how you're gonna get drafted to the NBA. And so, in order to get in there, you got to kind of understand your fundamentals. You know what I'm saying? You got to understand your fundamentals. You got to understand how to play in a team confine. A lot of these YouTubers, like I said, no shade to them. I'm glad they found a lane on YouTube to make their money, because that's actually what I'm doing. I'm actually I'm a YouTuber. You know what I'm saying? But I've already did my thing, played Division 1 already. So what I'm saying is, for those trying to get Division 1, you want to study Division 1. Right? Doesn't it make sense? Study Division 1, study NBA, study. I wouldn't want to say G League, because why would you study G League when you can study Division 1 or NBA, right? But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You study the NBA, find some players, find a few players that you like their game and that play similar to you too. That's the thing that some people don't get, is they try to study players that don't fit their body type. Like if you're 5'11", you're 6 foot, you probably don't want to be studying Kevin Durant. You know what I'm saying? It's cool to be a fan of certain guys, but if you're trying to be a player and really benefit from visually learning from NBA guys or college guys, try to find a guy that you're a fan of, but has your similar body type. So that way, the stuff you watch them do, you'll be able to actually do the training and have it be effective for you on the court, right? Once you do that, you're good. You're ready to just start working out. You know what to kind of work out and do because you watched it. You watched your favorite players doing it, and that's what your training should be based on. I don't care what these other trainers tell you about cone drills and all that other bullshit. All you need to do is just study your favorite few NBA players, college players. Study what they do. You don't even got to record it. Go to YouTube, learn, and let that incorporate the way you train. And if you can, film yourself, so that way you can make sure it looks the same. Once you look the part, now you know that you've locked into what you want. Your training has paid off. Now it's just time for reps. It's time for reps and hours, and putting hours in, so that way your body becomes accustomed to what you've taught it, and you kind of got to reteach yourself. Your body has to reteach itself how now to make this new way that you found to play basketball the consistent way, the instinctive way. Better yet, you know what I'm saying? And that's not easy to do, but once you see that you look the part, now it's worth putting in those hours of locking that in, because when scouts see you, forget what they say. Looks is very important, and when it comes to basketball. So that's my advice. I know I broke it down. You're probably going to have to re-listen to it or really subscribe to my training program on my mentorship with NBA training. But yeah, for those who happen to be online and hearing it, you're hearing some real valuable, priceless jewelry from somebody who's been there, somebody who's went through the struggle, and made it and is giving back. And so yeah, that's what this is. Matter of fact, that's me in high school. Wow, this page is amazing. It's really for me, for me, whoever else happens to watch and see certain things. But you know, just I wish I had everything I did, but I am fortunate that I did a good job and my mom did a good job of filming my basketball games. So that way I do have a history to go back and look at. Y'all, this is me in high school, man. Amazing, amazing history. This was back in what year? 2001, I want to say. Yeah, 2000 actually, because 2000. I don't remember. I know I was at TCU 2001, 2002, Texas Christian as a true freshman. So whatever basketball year was before that. So I guess this was 2000, 2001. Yeah, I graduated in '01. So this was 2001. Um, yeah, I'm an old guy, basically the same age as LeBron. I mean, I think 1 year. I'm actually 1 year older than LeBron. So, but yeah, that's me in high school. As you see, I was doing my thing. That's Rodney Billups, Chauncey Billups' brother, and this is me now. God has blessed me to still be able. This is this year, ladies and gentlemen, and I still look pretty much the same, right? Look older, of course, but what's amazing is that I actually feel like I'm better. Much better now than I was when I was younger. And usually, it doesn't work that way, but that's just that's just the fate. That's the fortune of it. That's the fortune of it. I'm one of those guys who can still go out there and play. I'm still on contract now. The off season for us, thank God. Actually, the All Star game is this Saturday, and apparently I'm an All Star alternate, made the All Star team in the ABA. So we'll see how that goes. 3-point contest, all that good stuff. But yeah, so now, like I said, and another thing too about me playing semi-pro, I did this really so that way my training and stuff. I knew people were gonna hate on me. And I knew people were gonna be like, "Oh, you played. That was when you played. The game's played different now, and all this other stuff." So for me, just to avoid having to hear all that bullshit, I just figured, look, let me go ahead, because the video quality back in the day wasn't that good. So I was like, let me just go ahead and play this semi-pro thing. If I can make a team and start, I'm gonna do that. And even though it's painful running sprints and stuff at my age and all that, uh, I was like, at least I have a demonstration of like why you should use my training as opposed to these other trainers' bullshit programs. Because instead of just hating on theirs and saying negative stuff, I wanted to prove why my training is the way to go. And what better way to prove that your training works when I can go and play semi-pro at 42 and drop 20 and drop 30 and drop 40 right now against guys that are in their early 20s. Like everybody on that court is probably in their early 20s, you know what I'm saying? Me dropping 40 at 40, call me the semi-pro LeBron, I guess, and I'm under 6 foot. So I did that just really to prove that my training process works, it's effective. When I talk, you listen, basically. When I talk, you listen, not only from my resume, but from what I can do now. This isn't just some old guy with a story. You know, all the stuff that I mastered, I'm able to go and do now, and they can't stop me. And I'm not always going to have the legs to go, oh, watch this. Watch, oh my goodness, turn that boy around. But yeah, I was the pioneer, a lot of these moves you see, you know, I'm not saying everybody learned them from me, but I was doing them before everybody, you know. And back in, when I made it D1, um, coaches just kind of frowned upon, you know, that kind of, guards that could score, guards that weren't just feeding the post. Um, we basically were thugs. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I paved the way for the Steph Currys and for the Trey Youngs and for the LaMelo Balls, honestly. So, it is what it is. For whatever reason, it didn't go my way when it came to the luck of the draw of, the era of basketball complementing, scoring guards like it does now. But at least I was able to play Division 1 and experience kind of what it's like to play at the highest level. And still be able to lace them up and play competitively now, semi-pro or whatever, and it's always been a dream of mine. I think right now I don't have that dream anymore to make it to the NBA because I know how much work it takes to really it's not even playing. I could go and play, in the NBA probably. If it was just games, then most definitely, you know what I'm saying? I uh I would go play, so I would do it. If I could just go and just play the games, like I said, I would play in the league for sure. But uh look at that dime. My gosh, that was sexy. I'm sorry. That was next level. But yeah, I would do it if it was just games. But the workouts and stuff like that, the training camps, I just don't have it in me. I don't believe you know, and I kind of like that about the ABA is that, it doesn't require so much of a strenuous off season uh, you know, regimen, you know what I'm saying? We can kind of just play when it's game time for the most part. A lot of coaches will have us practice 1 day a week and that's it because they don't pay us like that. So of course guys in this league still have to work. So I guess call us plumbers. But anyway, like I said, I'm glad for this platform now. I'm glad that I'm able to, basically validate who I am and what I've done in the sport of basketball. Matter of fact, shout out to Deami Reshaw. He's a young guy who I'm training. I spar with. There goes his dad sitting there. His dad pays me to work out with his son. We got some similar roots from Denver. So he just like I said, giving back. That's me working with that guy, young guy. He's good. Hopefully, his dad played a lot of overseas ball, so he's got the right resources in place to work hard and train. So and his dad is smart enough to have me working with him, and so and he's just hopefully he takes it serious and he's able to stand out. He's able to stand out. I think he's 16 now. So he's in the right hands. And Deami Reese, shout out to him. But yeah, this training stuff is dope. As you see, that's me right there working with him. That's the triple threat, y'all. Y'all gonna need that in y'all game. Amongst there a lot of other things. So that's him when he was younger. It was the year before that. Look at the growth. Look at the growth. You can tell he got much taller and stuff like that, a little faster. He's still growing. So who knows where he'll settle into and be. Hopefully he's 6'5", 6'6". Hopefully he gets that tall. But back to the colorful stuff. Like I said, the recreated NBA stuff. That's kind of what I'm gonna be doing. I'm doing some Devin Booker, Steph Curry. Those ones I haven't done yet. So y'all can expect to see that coming up soon. Um, Obviously this Lamelo stuff is I like that. That's probably gonna be it's my favorite player to recreate is Lamelo. Like I said, mainly because of play style, similarity of play style. It's natural when I'm recreating Lamelo stuff. I kind of feel like I'm playing my own game. We have a lot of similarities to our game, and maybe you guys seen some of it. For those who've seen my clips on my page, if so, cool. If not, then yeah, But it's dope. It's a dope thing to be able to do. And we just got to monitor the progress. I see it going up from here. Um, and maybe the more creative ideas will come and spin off from this. Who knows? I think that's why my numbers on there, so people can reach out. With opportunities and ideas, sponsors or whatever the case with it. Sky's the limit. I know I'm first one to do this and be able to do it. And I'm gonna take it as far as I can while I'm the only one doing it. And yeah. And so hopefully this pays off in measurable ways. So with that said, this has been a good live. Like I said, I'm an open book at this point. My line is open. Leave a comment if you ever want to reach out to me about something. I'm here. Support, subscribe. Let's get it, man. It's your boy Kenny Kelly, man. No days off. Let's get it.